Yes, as Luca said, my name is Sofia Eriksson, and I work as an urban strategist at the planning administration of City of Stockholm. And I'm going to talk a bit about the segregation and unequal living conditions in Kista, but also in Järva as a whole, since you have to place Kista in a context. Karin talked about the comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan states that in terms of social aspects and segregation, a serious problem in the it's a large difference between different areas and households in terms of overcrowding and housing quality. It also states that the city need to prioritize well-designed public spaces and parks in socioeconomic weaker areas, especially where overcrowding is high and where there are many children and elderly. Karin also talked about the structure plan for Kista. And the main aim for the structure plan for the Kista Science City is to develop the urban environment in a way that supports the establishment of new business and living in a dynamic urban environment, and to enable a long-term and sustainable development to attractive and vibrant district with a mix of business and housing, and to improve connection with surrounding districts. So the comprehensive plan points out housing and public spaces as an important factor. But how does it look today, and what is the reality to build on to make the area vibrant and integrated? And I'm going to start talking about housing and overcrowding. And on the picture here, you can see that it differs a lot in the city, both if you compare to the center parts of the city with the other areas. And the orange marks is rental, and the green are owning apartments or houses or semi-detached houses as well. So you can see that it differs from the inner city and the outskirts of the city. But also, if you compare the different Järva areas, the Järva districts with each other, you can see that Tensta, Rinkeby, and Akalla, which is, can I point that out? Okay, which is these areas, differs from Kista and Akalla. They have a larger number of owning apartments or houses. And if you see to overcrowding, if you see the overcrowding in the whole city, you can see that the areas of Rinkeby, Tensta, and Husby are the ones with the most overcrowded apartments. These red areas there in the whole of the city. And again, Akalla and Kista is a bit different from those areas. And if you see to living area per person, you can see that a lot of the Järva areas has a second lowest living area per person compared to the whole city. And yeah, it's about 11 to 30 square meters per person living area. And if you compare that, in relation to that, if you look at the living space in square meters, then that can be requested in different areas based on the CALP calculation. And the CALP calculation is assets left after the household's total cost have been paid. Is that clear? Good. And you can see that you can see that in Rinkeby and in Kista, you can only request 9 square meters if you are a woman and 22 square meters if you're a man. In total, 15 square meters per person, which is one of the lowest in the whole city of Stockholm. And if we look at the more like spatial segregation, this is the connectivity map, and the red one is high and the blue is low, just so you know. And this map, you can see the spatial integration. It shows that the street network isn't very integrated between the different areas of northern Järva, but it's also not even in themselves. They are as well integrated. Karin talked a bit about moving around in Kista, and it isn't that easy. And it's not, if I back a bit, but you can see also to the surrounding areas. Sollentuna, that is north of Kista, it has a lack of connections there as well. So it has a lack of connections in the area, but also to the other areas. And if you look at the city as a whole, you can see that the Järva area is not really connected to the rest of the city either. It functions as like different islands, and it's not really connected. It's not easy to get to the other areas and not the surrounding municipalities. And this has consequence for the street. And you can see here, Karin talked about this as well. This is density of entrances around the city, and you can see in the Järva area that it's very few entrances, entrance density, and this has to do with the closed facades, but also the traffic separated system that Järva is built upon. And this is a consequence for the streets, how you experience the street and how you like it there, but also for the perceived safety, of course. And if we look at social distribution, this is analysis of access to workplace in the city. And you can see that the most workplaces are in the city, of course, but you can also see that it's a lot of workplaces in Kista, but not it doesn't have a spillover effect on the surrounding areas. So it's very focused in Kista. And if you see the access to green public spaces, the green areas are green public spaces. The white areas are areas that is from 200 meters from a green space, and the purple is in different areas where there's a lack of green spaces. And you can see the whole Kista has very few green spaces and has quite far to Järvafältet as well. So we can say that Kista has a lack of green spaces. And in terms of socioeconomic conditions, you can see that it differs between Tensta, Rinkeby, Husby, and Akalla and Kista quite a lot. And the share per person with only pre-secondary education and financial aid or unemployment is considerably higher in Rinkeby, for example, than in Kista. It differs quite a lot. And if you consider this, you can assume that there is a discrepancy. Thank you, the audience. Between the jobs in Kista that requires a higher education, lots of IT works, a lot of works that jobs that need like university exam. But if you see the education level in the rest of the area surrounding Kista, you can see that it doesn't really fulfill the need that Kista have, and it doesn't. The Kista's work job doesn't really collaborate with the education level in the different areas. Land ownership, then the green areas are owned by the green, and the dark purple ones are owned by the Stockholm city. And the light pink one is, and the white one is private. We will have to consider it in the development of Kista. This is for Tensta, and this is for Rinkeby, Kista, and Akalla. Which means, since we don't own a lot of land, we have to collaborate with the other land owners, with the private market, enable to develop Kista and the surrounding areas. We can't do this on ourselves. We have to collaborate with all the other people that owns the land here to make something happen and the areas develop. So, in order to make Kista and Järva a more integrated area, we need to integrate it both with the surrounding areas, both across the municipality borders and the rest of the city. But we also need to make it more integrated between the different areas of Järva, since it has so different conditions.
Thank you very much, Sofia.
Thank you.
Thank you.